All right, rock and roll. Welcome to the Scorched Earth Political Podcast. I am your host, John. And if you could kindly hit that like and subscribe button, it means a lot to us. And here we try and get a little more honest, a little more raw about what's going on in today's news and maybe uncover a little nugget. We might have something special for you today. Here we welcome all, friend and foe, sinner and saint. We try and look at the media. What Jake Tapper is doing is just criminal. And come in a more honest way, the way that maybe more of us can understand as just average human beings, not part of this legacy narcissistic media that we live in. All right, we're taking no prisoners, telling no lies, and we're going to burn it all to the ground. Welcome once again to the Scorched Earth Political Podcast. And our first story is something I kind of unearthed, and it's kind of wild. Uh, so we all know about Pig Hegseth, and he is the Fox Weekend host who supposedly has a huge drinking problem. He's cheated on numerous wives and mistresses. He's actually cheated on his wife with his mistress, and he cheated on with his mistress with another mistress. This guy, I gotta say, this guy don't lack energy. Okay, we don't have to worry about that going on here. Maybe not a lot of brain cells going on, and what few he does have, he probably shouldn't sacrifice to the god of alcohol. But hey, you got to do you, Pete. So he is right now our defense secretary. Why get a general or an admiral to do that job? They only know what they're doing. The Fox Weekend host has got that covered. And he has been obviously inundated with scandals. He had the Signal chat. Somebody was leaking that he is taking his wife to meet these foreign intelligence leaders on the meetings. I mean, literally, he is sitting there with the intelligence leader or the defense secretary of the EU, and his wife is right next to him. Like, wow, good thing you brought her. And I'm not saying that she's not a talented woman, but exactly should she be hearing all the intimate defense secrets and strategies of different countries and different organizations? I got a funny feeling when the NATO leaders go into these meetings and they see Pete Hegseth's wife, they're like, oh boy, what do we got here? What's going to happen here? Is she going to start a podcast? Who knows, right? Hey, don't you be saying anything about podcast, okay? This is the best podcast on the internet. All right. So we find out that Pig fired 3 of his top aides because somebody was leaking information to the press, right? And Pete didn't really like this because it makes him look even more of a clown than he already is, which that takes quite a bit of work, but he is up to the task, that's for sure. So the White House and the Pentagon both launched investigations into who was leaking. Now, this is a common thing that happens in almost any administration. When leaks start to happen, they don't like it. They don't like their dirty laundry getting out there. Of course, you got a free press. That's the only thing that keeps them honest, right? Remember weapons of mass destruction? Yeah. It only cost us 5,000 lives and, $15 trillion. Good thing the press wasn't on top of that one. But so now we're getting into Pete firing his 3 advisors last month, right? And they are talking about he went to the White House and said, I had to fire him because I obtained information with illegal wiretaps on their phones and found out they were the ones leaking it. Now the White House is going sideways like, oh boy, first of all, that's unconstitutional. And second of all, oh my God, what kind of renegade do we got leading the Defense Department? Now, that's crazy when that's coming from inside the West Wing, right? Because it's not like they're exactly the most stable people. Steve Miller. Oh my God, that racist mother effer, right? So this extraordinary explanation alarmed the advisors in the White House and also raised it with people close to J.D. Vance, because the wiretap would almost certainly be unconstitutional and even a bigger scandal than the leaks that have happened in the Pete Hegseth defense secretary tenure, right? The advisors complained they were being fed dubious information by Hegseth's personal lawyer, Tim Palatori. Now, this is going to be a really important name. He is Pete Hegseth's lawyer who is representing him. He doesn't have a government lawyer, he has a personal lawyer in case he has to defend himself in a criminal court of law down the road. What a shock. So the leak was first attributed internally to Hegseth's senior advisor, Dan Caldwell, that got out to the press. Okay, that wasn't the signal chat, but it was numerous other things that have been going on, right? Who was escorted out of the Pentagon in front of cameras and fired last month alongside two other aides, Hegseth's former deputy chief of staff, Darren Shelnick, and the deputy defense secretary's chief of staff, Colin Carroll. The illegal wiretap claim and Caldwell's denials fueled the breakdown in the trust between the White House and the Defense Department. Pig Hegseth is claiming, now crazy, think about this, he's claiming he did illegal wiretaps on his guys and he found out. And the White House is like, Jesus Christ, if that's true, that's 10 times bigger than the scandal itself. And then it's Pig Hegseth. Really, what are you going to believe? You literally put a narcissistic liar in this position, and now you're forced to say, is he telling me the truth? I remember the great promoter of boxing, Bob Barum, used to say, hey, yesterday I was lying, but today I'm telling the truth. That's Pig Hegseth. Like, yeah, good luck. Good luck figuring out what's going on. In particular, one Trump advisor recently told Hegseth that he did not think Caldwell or any of the fired three had leaked anything, and that he suspected the investigation had been used to get rid of aides involved in the infighting with the first chief of staff, Joe Casper. So basically, they were like the Kardashians at the Defense Department. Everybody was fighting for their turf. Pig Hegseth jumped over on the other side. These three guys were lined up. You know what the problem was? They were probably actually good at their job. So obviously, you got to get rid of those guys in the Trump administration, right? Scott Bessent, you're the next to go. And Pig came up with this story of, I did a wiretap and they leaked to the press, because going to Trump, if you claim somebody is leaking stuff to the press, they're gone. That is literally the scarlet letter, right? We all know how paranoid that, VD infected president is, right? Sometimes the adult diapers are on a little too tight. It blurs the circulation to his head. The fallout is like Hegseth with no chief of staff, and he relies on 6 senior advisors to run his office. Now, typically that wouldn't be that big a deal, but he also has the biggest department in the entire United States with the Defense Department of a budget over $1 trillion. Oh, God. Yeah. Hey, I picked up a couple guys at Staples. They're good with data entry. We can kind of figure out how to manage this budget. Can you imagine how many things you have to fund in a $1 trillion budget? Oh my God. I mean, that has got to be bloody insane. So now let's get back to Paul Latour, who is Hegseth's personal lawyer. He rebuffed the attempts to obtain the underlying evidence, right? Noting it was inappropriate for the executive branch to insert itself into the ongoing criminal investigation that he said could still yield charges. So basically what happened is the White House reached out and goes, okay, let's hear the tapes. Let's hear the evidence. And he said, I can't do that, because you just have to take my word for it. Because if I give you that evidence, then it can be used against us in a criminal proceeding. So on one hand, he's saying he has evidence, but then again, because he obtained it illegally, he can't give you the evidence. Literally. Bullshit on bullshit, right? I mean, come on, man. It's like saying, I got the key to all the world's problems, but I just can't show it to you, because then you'd find out I don't know. Like, goddamn, man, really? Parlator suggested that there had been a warrantless wiretap on Caldwell's phone to the White House. Okay, that's how I got the evidence. I did it illegally. Wow. Parlator still remains in the inner circle of Hegseth, and he has retained his ability to make recommendations in the investigation on the leaks. Great. Just great. There's going to be a hearing next month in the Senate where Hegseth comes in. I got a feeling this is going to become a huge story. And I'm not seeing it anywhere else in media, that his own staff was doing illegal wiretaps on his own staff. Let's just see where it all plays out. Sometimes it matters, sometimes it don't. All right, let's talk about another idiot. Let's talk about Elon Musk. It's SpaceX, his other little side hustle. Mega rocket ship Starship made a test flight from Starbase, Texas. They named the town Starbase. God. I don't know. Is this by the community of like the 700 women that he has breeding his kids that he artificially inseminates from DMs online? After back to back rocket explosions, SpaceX launched its mega rocket Starship Tuesday evening, but fell short of its main objective when the Starship tumbled out of control and broke apart. That is code for the mother effer blew up. Okay? This is the guy who made the Cybertruck. You know, it's funny. I was coming back from the doctors with my mom, and she looked over at the Cybertruck and she goes, "What's that?" And I go, "That's the Elon Musk Cybertruck." She goes, "Man, that thing is ugly." I go, "Yeah, it sure is, Mom." I said, "Another winner from Elon Musk because everything he does explodes." Christ's sake. Elon Musk SpaceX hoped to release a series of mock satellites following liftoff, but that got nixed because the door failed to open. Were you doing a joint venture with Boeing? And open all the way, the spacecraft began spinning and it skimmed towards space and an uncontrolled landing in the Indian Ocean. Right? On these SpaceX things, they actually have a live stream and they have commentators. Commentator Dan Huat said, "Not looking great with a lot of our on orbit objectives for the day." That means we effed up, right? SpaceX later confirmed the spacecraft experienced, now listen to this word salad, a rapid unscheduled disassembly or burst apart. Teams will continue to review data and work towards our next flight test, the company said in an online statement. God damn, man, right? I mean, these guys literally, you could see where they were in government. They literally said the goddamn thing blew up, but it was a disassembly. Like, okay, yeah, okay. Hey, the World Trade Center disassembled at 9/11. Jesus Christ. You guys can't figure anything out, right? All right, let's get to our final story here. And Trump yesterday was talking about Putin playing with fire. Ooh, the god of fire. Call him Hades. After Putin ignored his feckless threats for not coming to the table to negotiate peace with Ukraine and instead launching the deadliest drone attack in the 3 years of the war. Right? For Dawn, I have an idea. Why don't you goddamn go after Russia like you do after Harvard, Columbia, women's reproductive rights, LGBTQ rights, wokeness, Barack Obama's legacy, the Mexicans, and environmental protections, just to name a few. You know, it's funny. We have a president of the United States who is attacking the pillars of society at a greater rate than he is a country that invaded an ally of ours, a democratic ally that stood by us in Iraq and Afghanistan, that had 20,000 of its women and children either abducted or killed. And this guy, we talked about it yesterday. He could solve the problem in literally 10 minutes. Jesus Christ. I'm like the 10-minute guy. I can figure out all this stuff in 10 minutes. Announce $100 billion in aid going in military aid going to Ukraine. Let me tell you, you'll get Russia to the table so goddamn quick your head will spin. Jesus. You know, for this guy who thinks he's so smart, and we all know he's not, he's literally, I think the Ozempic he's taking every day or the adult diapers are literally stopping the blood flow to his small little pea-sized brain. But goddamn, man, it's easy. You want to get Russia to stop? You just tell them, hey, that's cool. You do you. We're going to send $100 billion in military aid over there. We're going to send some Stinger missiles. Hey, maybe we'll throw in a couple planes in that Christmas grab bag for the Ukraine. I'm telling you right then, that's the only thing Putin respects. Bullies only respect another bully if they stand up to him. All right. That's it today for the Scorched Earth podcast. Thank you for spending your time with me. I love y'all. We're in this together, and we're on the side of right. We're on the side of good. I love y'all, and I will see you soon on the Scorched Earth.